I shall be trying to make an attempt at putting in this. This is a Mushkin SATA disk, 500 gigabyte. This is a B plus M key NGFF SATA, new generation form factor. So these disks were actually quite expensive initially. They are a transition period SSD. Transition because I remember the old days when we used to use these kind of horrendous connectors, and this was supposedly an improvement over the ribbon connectors we used to have, the IDE connectors from the early 80s. Now Apple came out with like something called SCSI, SCSI connectors, and for a while there we weren't sure what connectors were, if any, were going to be standardized, right? And so we had all kinds of standards going on at one time. And so during that time period, I think 80s, it was kind of wild and woolly days where we didn't know what was what. We were just happy with whatever we can get. I remember when I got put together a computer in the early 90s. This is 1992, 1993, something like that. The insides of a computer were very hairy to look at. You didn't know what to make of it. It was hard to put together a computer unless you were real into welding and soldering. But if you revisited that computer era, mid to late 80s, late 90s, the late 1990s, it was starting to clarify. But at the time, I think most betting men would have thought that maybe it was FireWire, was it IEEE 1394 standard, that would have seemed to be the likely, commonly like the VHS over Betamax standard by which connectors were going to be used. Now it turned out that was not the case at all. The 1394 FireWire, which was kind of an expensive connector, never took off. And instead, something else There's an IDE, these ugly connectors, I think, took over instead. But if you fast forward to mid to late 2000s, like 2005, 2010, what we saw was kind of a coalescence of ideas, with most people choosing SATA 3, what they call SATA 3 now. It's like the third generation of SATA connectors. So when I say SATA connectors, I'm talking like these that we all recognize. These, I think the SATA 1 to 2 were similar but slower, much slower. SATA 3 was much faster. So that's what we found to have been the dominant connectors over the past decade. It was only the last time I got into heavy-duty computer build was 2018 maybe? By then, everything was moving over to NVMe connections. And so now it seems like the NVMe, the M2 form factor, and what would they call that? M2 form factor is now pretty much like the universal connector, the universal form factor for things like storage. But really, SATA 3 is still fairly common. In fact, I probably don't need to take any of this stuff off. Let's see if my new thing that I bought works for it. So this thing just kind of pops off. I will need a new Windows key because this one, there it is, look at that. So it's a standard SATA connector. These hard drives just use the standard SATA connections. This adapter is designed to fit into a computer side port, but this has one of these, so I'm hoping this will just read it directly, like that. So these go at about 500 megabits on Crystal Disk, Crystal Disk 8, Crystal Disk Mark 8. So the biggest pain in the ass will be installing reinstalling Windows 10 into this thing. It should be quite doable. I went ahead and formatted it, GPT, NTFS, to avoid trouble. Now I may end up having to just let it sit loose. Maybe I can just zip tie it into it. Those zip ties should keep it from rattling too much. overdo it. Should be adequate to zip tie it, right? Hoping this is going to take, but there's no guarantee this will work. These things are built very, very well. Lenovo all-in-ones. This one I bought in early 2014 or 2013. I bought it for my mom. This was my mom's last computer before she died. So it's got some sentimental feelings to this one. This is why I don't want to just get rid of it. Plus, it works pretty well. So, no reason to get rid of it. It's a 10-year-old CPU. It's an Intel i3, 4, 5, 10 or something like that. The Wi-Fi is garbage on it, so I'm using this Asus AC56 external USB adapter one. So it's the moment of truth. Push the button and will it play? No operating system. So maybe it works. I'm gonna go get my Windows card. It has Windows on it. Okay, there it took. Let's touch and go for a minute. So if I can just get this thing. Okay, here we go. I'm with the world. Installing Windows 10. It would be great if it says it can't be installed there, but let's try formatting it. Doesn't seem to want to format it. I can only do MBR. Let's see if I can. Disk part. Clean.
Space NBR, exactly you see on my screen here. Hit enter on the keyboard. It should say disk successfully converted the selected disk to NBR. Hit enter.
Now let's see if it recognizes and lets me install Windows 10. There we go. Now are we going to be able to do this? Nervous moments. Everything hinges on the next few seconds. Unallocated. Maybe we can do this. Maybe. It's working. This is good news. As long as this thing doesn't fail or crash, we may be home free at this point. This will take a long time, but not quite as long as when I had a spinning disc. And I had this thing. So it's actually a respectable 1 terabyte Seagate Barracuda. It will need to be wiped, but could be used again. So I've got some commonly used software on here that I brought down so I could recall what files I would want to install on this thing. But generally, I like to use a GitHub debloated Windows installation. At this point, I think we're done. Okay, so this is a test of boot speed on this Mushkin 500 gigabyte M2 format NGFF B plus M key transitional disk. Was 500/500s approximately in a crystal disk mark, and this is the more subjective boot speed of the Windows after I changed out the disk from this pokey Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte 7200 RPM relic 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000, 6 1000, 7 1000, 8 1000, 9 1000, 10 1000, 11 1000, 12 1000, 13 1000. and I'm in 15 seconds from start to finish. So that's pretty good. So I've got the Brave browser installed. I've got some of these HW monitor setups installed. I've got the translucent taskbar installed. As you can see, I can get some of these monitors set up in this corner right here, like so. So having run the Chris Titus debloat setup, and I tried my best to delete the Microsoft Edge off of this computer. I see no Microsoft Edge on here. Very clean setup with everything working very, very well. Should be RAM. I got from Amazon. Silicon power. 1.35 volt dual rank, dual channel, DDR3 1600, 16 gigabytes total, 204 pin. So I will go take a look at the computer downstairs. Will be my chance to see if this RAM is upgradable to 16. So when I looked online, most of the information I found were old, almost 10 years old, 9 years old, something like that. And nobody definitively said this RAM is upgradable to 16. Lenovo's own site indicated that the max RAM on this Lenovo c560 is 8. Officially, it's 8. Someone mentioned that only indicates that there's only 8 available. But is it because of the inherent socket, the drivers? Is it because of the CPU? This is what we don't know. So here is quite easy to pull out the RAM from these. So here's the native RAM XL, 2 gigabytes, 1600. I'm going to compare just the form factor just to make sure. As you can see, the form factor seems to match up. So I'm going to go ahead and try pulling out. So this one's 4, that one's 2. And then this thing should give me a relatively massive upgrade if it's acceptable, if it's taken by this computer. I'm not sure if this is going to work. There was nowhere online to indicate that this would work or not. So these 2 RAM were, let me see if I can remember. I think it was like $18, something like that. So the price was low enough that I thought it was worth the risk of me just buying it outright. So here I will try to place them. The form factor indicates that, whoops, it should fit adequately. I just dropped that fucker right into a concrete floor. Stupid. But it should be fine. It's just bits of silicone and plastic and a little bit of gold. Okay, so it's in. Now, this has some shielding right there where the RAM is. So this thing takes This will soup up this computer massively. So upgraded the hard drive from spinning relic to kind of a transitional period SSD, B plus M key SATA drive. Now I have upgraded RAM from 6 all the way up to 16, which is a relatively massive gain in RAM. Why RAM is so important is for officially it helps with multitasking and things like that. It allows you to better use your browser. The browser being the most often used component of this particular computer. So the browser will run smoothly with multiple windows open, multiple tabs open. And most importantly, subjectively, lots of RAM will provide a smooth, effortless experience in using a computer like this. So now it's all connected up again. Let us see if it starts up. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I may have to get into BIOS to see if it's XMP. Okay. Okay. BIOS is fairly rudimentary. Okay. So the moment of truth will be HW monitor. I may download HW info, but I do have CPU Z, which may be all I need. Here it is. Yeah, the CPU Z will give me the information I need to let me know if it worked or not. But as a preliminary read, I'll put it right here. As can be seen, those are the voltages. Temperature's looking good. Those are the powers. There's my boot drive, 42C, GPU 40, and it's running. So here is the true tale. We're on Task Manager to see that GPU, Wi-Fi, all that's working out. It's a Core i3-4130T Haswell. It's a 10-year-old, 9-year-old computer. Main board, Lenovo, PCI Express. Here it is, memory, 16 gigabytes. So it does take it. There it is, 1500 megahertz, 1600 megahertz. The date is September 11th. This is a lifetime warranty RAM. It works. Memory is 16 gigabytes. We'll test the restart time from dark, from black, from off. Okay. 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, 7 1,000, 8 1,000. 9 1,000, 10 1,000, 11 1,000, 12 1,000, 13 1,000, maybe less than 14 seconds if you count the splash screen. So it appears it's taken adequately, but it's performing above expectations. SSD is performing excellently, above expectations. RAM is below average. We'll have to see what that means. It says the DDR3L PC3 12800 800 is made by Samsung, up to 800 megabit 1.35. It's populated in slots 1 and 3. Samsung memory. From web store. Can be seen, runs pretty well. It's running at 1440p, which is not necessary on this computer. Let's see what the settings were. Got default quality set at 1080p. Let's try that again. Yeah, it keeps running at 1440p, but that's fine. So, in conclusion, the Lenovo c560 all-in-one from 2014, this model, will take 16 gigabytes of RAM, laptop RAM, and use it functionally. It will take a B+M key transitional NGFF SATA chip as a boot drive and have it function adequately. So the benchmarks I do have on the Mushkin looks like that. I think it's adequate. The Ookla speeds I have, September. Get 200 speeds on this thing. So I will shut this down now. See how quickly it shuts down. Outstanding. I think I'm happy with this computer.